Hi, this video is for you if you have been feeling stressed. Maybe you describe it as stuck, overwhelmed, frustrated, worried, or concerned. You might notice that your sleep has changed. You are eating a little bit differently. I'm definitely an emotional eater. Your social media or screen time has changed. I for sure am guilty of mindlessly scrolling the internet or Instagram really when I'm stressed out. Your thought pattern might change, so there might be a lot of thoughts in there, or there might be none. You just really can't get any clarity. Or your body might be sending you some signals that your stress levels are elevating. So for me, my two biggest ones are either a tightening in my chest or tension in my shoulders. So I kind of do this shrugging thing. It's almost like I'm a turtle trying to go into my shell. So those are indicators for me that there is some stress that I need to be aware of. Sometimes my body will tell me that I'm under stress before I'm even aware of it. So before it even gets to my mind or into my emotions. My name is Lynn Jimenez, and I am the founder of Connect, Flow, Grow. I'm a therapist, and my expertise is the stress response system. So this can range from everyday stress, and it can also address anxiety, depression, and trauma-based responses. The stress response system is how our body processes stressors or how it processes information. And then our experience of that is stress. And stress looks different for everybody. It's as unique as you are to the world. For many of us, what is really at the root of our troubling emotions, thoughts, behaviors, or physical sensations is stress. And if there's no medical cause, then it's something to look at. Like what in our life, what in our environment can be changed or needs to be changed, or how can we change our response or how we're managing stress. So a lot of people try to manage their stress on their own and they feel unsuccessful with it. They're struggling to get a desired result, usually a more happy and productive life, and they feel like they're stuck. They're not able to make the changes that they want on their own. Stress can be really mild and just like an irritant, and it can also start sucking the life out of us. So if you feel like you have been trying to manage your stress and you've been rather unsuccessful, I want you to consider if you're making one of the following mistakes, because they are the most common ones that I see. They're the ones that I help problem solve and troubleshoot the most often. So if you're making one of these mistakes, it might be an opportunity to just kind of course correct. So one of the biggest ones is just identifying your stressors. A lot of people aren't really aware what their stressors are. Again, stressors are the things that cause us stress. So they can come from our external environment, they can come from out in the world, or they can come from within. So it might be emotional stress or maybe something physically happening in our body. Maybe you're not accounting for all of them. It's funny how often we downplay the amount of stress we have. A few years ago, I went to see a physical therapist because I was having hip pain, and he asked me about my life and my stress, and I was like, no, I don't have any stress. And then I began to tell him how I had 3 boys, I had a busy career, I ran my household, and I was going through a divorce. And then he looked at me and was like, and you have no stress. And then when I heard myself say all of that, I was like, oh, 100% I have stress. And then we had a better place to work from, a more honest place to work from. So I was both not accounting for all my stressors, and then I was downplaying the impact they had. Why? Because I was used to dealing with stress. I have been very ambitious, right? I'm going to use air quotes there because that has been an identity that I developed, which has caused me a lot of stress. And so it's not that I couldn't deal with the stress, it's that I didn't need to deal with that much stress. It wasn't allowing me to live my life to the fullest. It was causing me some unhappiness, some disruption in my life. So I needed to make some changes. Part of those changes are looking at how you're coping with stress, how you're dealing with stress. Most people don't really understand how coping skills work in comparison to their stress. So some of the challenges that I see often are we don't have enough coping skills. We need to learn some new tools. Once we learn those tools, then we need to learn how to match those coping skills to our stressors or to our stress. So if the stressor is something like a toxic relationship, then we need to know relational coping skills, not deep breathing. While it's going to bring us to a calmer place and allow us to interact with another person in a better way, it's not going to help us set boundaries. It's not going to help us maybe identify a plan to leave the relationship. So our coping skills have to match or appropriately address the stressor. Similarly, our coping skills have to be able to address the intensity of our stress. So when I'm at a 10, so I like to always think of my emotions on a 0 to 10 scale. When I'm at a 10, meaning I am in this really intense stress place, I don't need to do deep breathing. Yeah, it might help, but I really like exerting physical activity. So I'll go for a run. I will cry, I'll scream, I'll yell. I will really get some of that energy out, and then I can move into a place where deep breathing might be more effective for me. One of the other things that I notice is people work against themselves and against their biology. So what we know about the brain is it just needs repetition. So if you've been doing what we would consider a maladaptive coping or some other behavior to manage your stress, and it's kind of gotten you by for a while, you're gonna need to do new behaviors over and over again. You're gonna need enough repetitions for your brain to know this is the thing that I want to do when I'm experiencing stress. Sometimes people will only practice their coping skills or only use their coping skills when they're in this intense emotional place, when they are stressed. And that is also not what we want to do. We want to practice our coping skills when we're calm. So the same things that we do to self-soothe or manage stress, we can also use as self-care. And that self-care really helps us proactively keep our stress levels low. The more that we practice it when we're calm, the easier it is going to be to utilize that skill when we're stressed. Lastly, there might be some bigger issues at play here. So some people get stuck on stress because they have a whole history of trauma or adversity. And when you have that in your background, often you need professional help to help navigate it, reduce the intensity, reduce the impact on it, really heal those parts of yourself so that way your everyday stress isn't so overwhelming to you. If you're like me, you weren't taught any of this. You had to learn it on your own, and I guarantee you are doing the best that you can. It doesn't mean that you can't be doing better. So you just need to learn about the stress response system, what is happening in your body, learn what your stressors are, or really be more honest in identifying them or more accurate in identifying them, and then learn how to manage them most effectively. This isn't something that many of us were taught, so please be kind and gentle to yourself while you are navigating all of this. Follow me along on this journey of stressing less, and I hope you will learn something. So you can catch me on Facebook, Instagram, sign up for my newsletter at www.connectflowgrow.com, and I will happily share all my tips and tricks with you.